Good to go? Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Alaska Rendezvous Lodge. I'm going to give you a safety briefing where we talk about things we may encounter when we're out skiing in the mountains, hazards and how we avoid them, and a little talk on avalanche safety and techniques for skiing around in the mountains. So this is the Chugach mountain range. It's a glaciated mountain range with an active snowpack. When we're in the mountains, we might encounter such things as seracs, which are towers of ice. We avoid those at all costs. Crevasses, we'll talk about mitigating the hazard with crevasses. Terrain traps, which is anywhere where if you were caught in some moving snow, you might be brought into a gully or something along those lines. Bergschrund. Bergschrund is the biggest of the crevasses, and that is where the faces meet the glaciers, and as the glaciers get pulled downhill by gravity, the Bergschrund opens up further. When we're skiing over the Bergschrund, the guide will point it out to you, and we're just going to want to ski straight over it. We don't want to make any turns. We don't want to go diagonally across the schrund. One of the biggest hazards in the field we have is secondary exposure. So you just want to be conscious of what's below you as you're skiing through the mountains, and make sure that if you were to lose purchase and get off of your feet, you know the hazard that exists below you, whether it be cliffs or a crevasse or a terrain trap. When you're out in the mountains, we want to make sure that we're taking good personal care of ourselves, so wearing lots of layers, bringing water, extra food. We'll get a lunch packed for you before you go out, wearing sunscreen, and looking out for each other in the event of frostbite. What you'd see is just some white spots on the cheeks, and then just simple skin-to-skin contact will take care of that, and that's where looking out for everybody else in the group is helpful. If you need to shed layers or add layers as the day goes on, just talk to your guide and say, when's the next convenient time for me to do such a thing? So when we're in the field, there are 3 zones that we talk about, and the elevation corresponds to the hazard. The highest hazard being on the summits and on the faces. On the summit, the high hazard is the rotor, the helicopter. So the way we avoid any hazard with that is we just stay close to the helicopter. And then on the faces, the hazard there is avalanche danger. The way we avoid that is we ski far apart. We'll ski one at a time on these faces. And we're going to ski to islands of safety. Islands of safety are rock outcroppings. They are little ridge lines. Anywhere where snow was moving down the face, you would be able to be out of the way of that safely. The guides will give you such terms as a football field apart, maybe, if he feels comfortable with having more than one person on the face. Just try and maintain the same margins as you ski from spot to spot, based on what your guide says. In the glaciers are our medium hazard. The hazard we encounter there would be crevasses. And the way we deal with that is we ski far apart, but we don't need to ski one at a time. And then when we stop, we're going to stop at different elevations and different widths on the slope so that we're all not standing on the same snow bridge at once. And again, just maintaining those margins that we set up to keep people from skiing right next to each other. As you ski down, don't stop right next to the guide. You're just going to want to stop slightly uphill and slightly aside. And then down in the benches and in the alders would be the low hazard area. We'll ski closer together down there. And then the biggest concern is the helicopter that you're going to end up skiing up to. If the helicopter is at the bottom, don't ski right up to the ship. You're going to ski to outside the rotor, and then we're going to stop and walk in from there. If you have questions in the field, don't hesitate to ask the guide. We're there to answer those for you, so be it about where to ski, when to ski. Make sure you stop us and ask us questions. When we're skiing down, we're going to want to stop above the guide, and classically, when you're skiing in the backcountry, you always want to stop below somebody, but here we want to be the lowest person on the hill. So just stop right above us, and as you come down, make a few slow turns before you get to us so you don't just come in hot. Slide on the brakes right above us. And then, each person sort of stagger uphill. We use a system called point positive when we're out there. So this means next skier, this will mean stop, and then as you're looking downhill to me, this is going to mean ski to your right, ski to your left. And we're always going to point you in the direction of safety and better snow. Sometimes our tracks don't necessarily lead to better snow, but always be looking downhill to us in order for us to point you in that direction. And you know, looking downhill to us can also help for us to point you away from danger if it's slough or anything along those lines. And you know, getting into slough is a loose snow avalanche. It's not a slab. It happens as we ski on steeper slopes. We have 3 methods of avoiding slough. The first would be to ski in front of it, which is not the recommended way to do it. Sometimes that can catch up to you, and we don't want to go through that. We typically want to stay either behind the slough or we want to avoid it. Skiing behind it might mean taking a few turns and stopping and pulling off and letting it pass and doing that until you can finally get out ahead of it safely. Or it might mean skiing from one side of the slope to the next and letting gravity take the slough directly downhill and you're just skiing away from it the whole time. If you are involved in a slab avalanche, the first method that you want to use to avoid that is to just ski off of it at a 45-degree angle and get onto the non-moving snow. That's, you know, staying uphill and getting onto the non-moving snow is the biggest part of avoiding slab avalanches which is an unlikely event involved in one. Get to the bed surface if you can't get off the slab and set an edge. The best bet is to just stay uphill as best you can. If you do get captured and you are brought all the way downhill on it, remain calm. The guides are coming to help you out. And if you are going to rent one of our airbag packs, you know, there's another thing to consider right then is when to use your airbag. If you're still on your feet, you don't need to use your airbag. If you do get taken off your feet, can you set an edge? If not, that's probably a good time to use it. And another thing along with the airbags is you just need to make sure that you're tucking your handle into the shoulder or pulling the white trigger handle off of an ABS pack. Every time you get down to the bottom and before we get in the helicopter, it's really important that we don't have an accidental deployment while we are loading or unloading the basket. So we'll do a little transceiver orientation. If you would please pass me this whiteboard skier. Okay, so we'll do a little avalanche scenario right here. Here is Mount Awesome, and here are the 4 of you standing atop waiting to ski. The guide skis down, and then avalanche. First things first, remain calm. You are the first line of defense for helping this person that may be caught. And the best thing you can do here is to keep your eyes on. You want to watch for the point last seen. Let's just say that's right here. You know at that point, this person is nowhere uphill from here, so you won't have to search anywhere in this. You can start here and move your way down. Once the smoke settles, if you don't see anything, you don't see any gear. If you see a boot, there might be a foot attached to it. If you see a glove, there might be a hand attached to it. That would be the first place you want to go to. Visual clues are really helpful for identifying people quickly. So if you do not see anything, the 4 of you are going to have to decide who is the strongest person to go down as far as performing the beacon search and doing the rescue. And you got to decide at that point if you feel safe proceeding onto slope. If you don't, do not proceed onto the slope. We don't need to involve anybody else and make another victim when there's already one there. So if you don't, wait, there will be more people coming down. If you do have a radio on you, we try to put radios in all the groups. One word, slide, guide is captured, and then wait for a response from somebody at that point. Okay, so if you do feel comfortable proceeding on the slope and initiating a search, the first thing you want to do is ski in the track or very close to the track all the way down to the crown. You don't want to ski fresh powder. You don't want to ski the flanks. That could potentially kick more snow on top of the person that's buried. Once you get to the crown, you have to decide at that point whether or not you feel safe to step off it. Some crowns are shallow, a couple inches. Some crowns are tall, a couple feet. If it's a couple feet, it might not be safe to get onto the slope. So you have to come to that decision on your own at that point. If you do feel safe proceeding onto the slope, the first thing you want to do is get off the crown onto the bed surface and then ski right to the point last seen. At that point, you want to turn your beacon to receive, see if you have a signal. If you do not have a signal, you are going to start a Z pattern. If you do, you're going to start following that signal downhill, and if the numbers are falling keep following it down. We'll get into that some more. So for your Z pattern, the idea is to cover as much of the width of the slope without losing any elevation. So this is your Z's. This is 25, I'm writing upside down this time. 25 meters wide, which is about half the range of your beacon. So it gives you a wide margin of error. And then the fall right here is about 5 meters. I think that's a 5. The idea would be to cover as much uphill ground as you can before you get downhill. So once you pick up a signal, you want to try and orient the beacon in a couple different directions and see if it's stronger in any of those directions. If it is, follow it into that. As your numbers fall, it means you're getting closer. The numbers are in meters. At 6 meters, you're going to want to take your skis off. At 3 meters, you want your beacon closer to the ground to eliminate probably what's about a meter distance right there, which can cause sort of an error in reading. And your secondary response team up here needs to know what you have. So if you have 12 meters at your first signal, let them know, I have a 12-meter signal. I'm following it in. And these guys up here can be your secondary response team, which is assembling shovels and probes and getting ready to come and aid you as you get closer. So again, following the signal in at 3 meters, peaking close to the ground. Once you have the lowest signal that you're going to get, you want to perform what's called a grid search. The grid search works like this. Say this is your low signal at 1.2. You're going to do 4 points in cardinal directions to the left, right, and in front and behind the low signal that you have. So what you're trying to do is systematically lower the number that you have. So if you go to the right and you get, say, 1.6, in the left you get 1.6, and above you get 1.8. Now below maybe you get 0.8. At that point you're going to recenter at that 0.8 signal because you now have a new low number, and try and do this grid search again. If that's the lowest number you have, that's the time when you want to start the probe. The way I like to probe is to do a grid. I start with in between my feet, to the right, and to the left, and that's at my left foot and my right foot, and then that's sort of the spacing that I want to use.
Go ahead, 203.
I keep working that grid until I have a probe strike.
All right, base copy. 20 next.
Here is your probe strike. So you leave your probe in the snow. This is your probe right here, this is your hillside, and you want to start digging downhill, pulling snow away from the downhill side, and then say this is about 1 meter deep, you want to start 1 meter down like this. So you build a little shelf and you have some room with which to extract this person from. Once you get down to this person, you need to use basic first aid. So airway, breathing, circulation. If the airway is blocked, you need to clear it. If he's not breathing, rescue breaths, and look for, if he is breathing, then circulation, you need to look for anywhere where blood loss might be happening. And all of this being said, this is a very unlikely scenario, and at this point, there will be more guides in there, but we need to talk to you guys about this so that we know that you are filled in on what the worst case scenario possibility is for a response. What did I miss? In the event of a multiple burial, what you want to do is go to the lowest signal first, and then move on to the ones that are further away. The lowest signal is going to be your highest percentage case for success. Once you do dig that person up, turn his beacon off, move to the next one. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, we'll go outside and we'll do a beacon search now, and that will conclude your safety briefing. Yeah.